What's up, guys? This is Manoj Popani. As a friend, I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. It's been a lovely morning outside, and I'm sure that you guys are enjoying your day to the fullest. So, it's a special audit, fifth video presentation, the last one. I'll be covering all those topics which will be relating to special audits in this last presentation. And I'm sure that you guys must be honoring your word of making revisions on time. That's something which you won't take upon any of the chances for. So you need to ensure that you do revise your topics time and again. That kind of hope, belief and enthusiasm, I just begin my presentation for the first topic of the day. And that will be Excise Audit by Central Excise Department. So guys, you have seen about or heard about many of the audits. But if I'll talk about specifically an audit in which you need to understand the nuances and check whether the company is being compliant with excise laws by Central Excise Department or not. So that particular audit will be called Excise Audit. Excise Audit is basically based on the scrutiny of business records of SSE. Auditors gather the basic information about the SSE and analyze them to find out all those vulnerable areas before conducting the actual audit. An excise audit is a very much more focused, in-depth, participative as compared to traditional audit. So that is something about the excise audit. And at every stage, the SSE is consulted. There is a transparent and interactive method of audit. It is basically that. Because at each and every stage, the SSE is basically consulted that, okay, you shouldn't do this thing or you should do this thing as far as the compliance things are concerned. And if in case there is some kind of problem, the SSE is given full opportunity to explain his stand on any of the particular matters so that the matters are resolved in full appreciation of the legal position. Opportunity of being heard is always given to the SSE in each and every particular case. So that's about the excise audit by Central Excise Department. Now, what should be the procedure? If I talk about the procedure in excise audit, so it will have some of the steps. First of all, what will be the department or what you as an auditor will do in case. The first one will be the selection of SSE. Okay. So there are about n number of SSEs in jurisdiction of any of the Central Excise Commissionerate. So depending upon the manpower availability, which would be available over there, so a few units are basically selected for conducting the audit during a particular financial year. And that financial year, the selection of the unit is based on the risk factors. So by risk factor, I simply mean that the SSEs with bad kind of track record in the past usually gets the priority. So it's always recommended not to do the mistake once and for all, because if in case the first time you'll do it, you'll be under the radar of the government of India. So you need to ensure that you don't provide them any of your chances of your bad track record. So it should be always good. So first of all, first thing is first, which is the selection of SSE. So how come this SSE will be selected? So that is the first selection of SSE. Moving on to the desk review. Now, once the selection of SSE is being done, next thing will be the desk review. So auditors are assigned the SSEs to be audited. Now they'll be able to know, okay, these are the persons to whom they have been supposed to provide the auditing services. So at the beginning of the financial year, and they gather the maximum possible information about the SSE as they can. So the information can be obtained from departmental records, returns, published documents like balance sheet, annual statements, market inquiry, anything. So information can be obtained from all these resources. And this can be done without interacting with SSE as well. Hence, this stage is basically called the desk review. What you as an auditor can do on your desk without intimating or getting the information directly from the client. So that is the desk review. Moving on to that will be preliminary investigation. So based on the desk review, the auditors may identify the areas which warrant closer examination. What can be done from inside? You need to be aware of that, guys. So hence, the further information is obtained from the SSE through questionnaire or any other means from the SSE. So additional documents may also be collected from the SSE to complete the preliminary investigation. So this is all about preliminary investigation. And then you need to move towards the factory visits. You need to go for factory visits as soon as possible and as much as possible in that case. So after collecting the information, the auditor visits the factory unit of the SSE and studies the actual working for the unit, the systems which are followed over there for maintaining the records, in various departments and the systems of movement of goods and related documents from within the unit. So all these things will be covered under factory visits. This basically gives the auditor a general overview about the procedure adopted by the SSE. Possible loopholes through which the revenue leakage can take place are going to get identified. So that's the basic benefit of going for any of the factory visits. Next will be the audit plan. So based on the experience, your past experience and the kind of experience that you'll be having with this. So based on the experience and information gathered about the SSE, the audit plan is prepared and which lists the possible vulnerable areas from the revenue point of view. The audit plan basically helps in selecting the documents, records which are maintained by the SSE for verification. So that's how it comes into the picture. And this plan is dynamic and it can be altered during the course of actual verification with the prior approval of the superior officer. That are the thing. This is the thing which will be covered under the basic listing for audit plan. Next will be the verification. So moving on to the verification part. Once the audit plan is being done, now the auditors visit the unit of SSE on a scheduled date. Now that is a very informed one. Last one was not informed, but this one is going to be informed one and carry out the scrutiny of records of SSE as per the audit plan. The auditor basically compares the documentation of the fact from different documents, verifying the figures of clearances of finished goods showed by the SSE in central excise return with the sales figure of the said goods in the balance sheet, sales tax return, bank statements, etc. This is going to be done in the verification part. The auditor also inquires about the entries which appear vague in various records and documents. The objective is to reasonably ensure that no document, no amount which is chargeable to duty under excise law escapes the taxation part. Verification is always carried out in presence of the SSE so that he can clarify the doubts and provide required information to the auditor. That's about the verification part. Moving on to the audit objectives. So if the auditor finds the instances of short payment of duty or non-compliance of excise procedures, then in that case he will have to discuss the issues with the SSE. And if in case there is no satisfactory explanation, auditors records the same thing as an audit objection and audit para of the draft audit report. So all those procedural lapses, infractions, adoptions of wrong procedures are ignored for the purpose of reporting, as they do not result in short payment of duty or do not have a bearing of the duty amount. However, the auditor can discuss the matter with the SSE and suggest corrective procedures to be done in future. This will form part of audit objections. While making any of the audit para, attempt should be made to tabulate the duty short paid by the SSE and incorporate it in the paragraph itself. That was all about audit objections. And finally, you need to complete your excise audit with the help of your audit report. So after the verification process, the auditor prepares the draft audit report which incorporates the audit objections and audit paras. So it provides the issue in brief, the reply and explanation of the SSE, the reasons for the auditor not being satisfied with the reply, the amount of short payment, the recoveries for the same. So all these things will be provided in audit report. The draft audit report is then finally submitted to the superior officers for review, who can examine the sustainability of the objections of things which have been raised by the auditors. And then finally, the audit report becomes final after such review. And in cases where the disputed amounts have not clearly been paid by the SSE at this spot, demand notices are issued by the department for their recoveries. And with this, your complete excise audit will get finished. That will remain completed. So all these are the procedures in excise audit: selection of SSE, desk review, preliminary investigation, factory visits, action plan, verification, audit objections, and finally concluding with audit report. I hope you guys got the complete clarity as to how about going and take care of excise audit in your examination. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. Perfect, guys. Let's move to the next topic. Audit under value added tax, that is VAT. This question was already asked in CA final examination for November 2007 and 10. So guys, VAT, the value added tax, kind of a sales tax. Okay. So what is VAT? First of all, let's understand that. So guys, VAT is basically a tax on the value added to the commodity at each stage in the production and distribution chain. In every kind of value addition stage of the commodity, there has been like some kind of production or distribution in that particular stuff. So it is going to happen a case wherein you'll be able to charge this value added tax for any of the value added to the commodity at which and each stage of the stage of production and distribution chain happens to be. A VAT is a very good kind of an indirect tax on consumption. It is basically a tax on the value at the final and retail point of sale, which is collected at each stage of sale. So that is something which is enlightening about it. So VAT is going to remove each and every case of cascading effect. So the same thing is not going to be taxed twice in that case. So only the value addition part will be getting taxed. So the essence of VAT is that it provides a credit set off for input tax. So the tax paid on purchases can easily get set off against the output tax. So that is tax payable on sales. So that is all about value added tax in a nutshell. Now, what are the preliminary steps in the VAT audit? Obviously, first of all, first thing is always first. That is the knowledge of business. You need to be aware of the kind of business the person is going on or carrying on. So knowledge of the business is the first thing. So auditor and his team, his or her team should familiarize themselves with the business of auditing. Next will be the knowledge of VAT law. Now you're going to do the audit for value added tax. So you need to have the idea about knowledge of VAT law and allied laws. So the auditor and his team should have adequate knowledge of VAT law, particularly definitions, procedures to be adopted, provisions regarding issue of invoices, claiming of input tax credit, and so on. So you need to have that knowledge of VAT law and allied laws. Then there is the accounting records. So the auditor should obtain a complete list of all the accounting records relating to sale, purchase of goods, stock, various registers, ledgers which are being maintained and the transactions are recorded. So you need to have all your accounting records in place. And then finally, you'll have to move towards major accounting policies. So the auditor must ascertain the major accounting policies with respect to any of the sales, purchases, inventory, and he or she must do and see that if there is any kind of change or deviation from the policies or something related to procedures, which should have been recorded as the reason of such changes. So you need to be aware of the same. And in that particular case, in case any of the significant changes in the accounting policy giving rise to some of the material effects on VAT liability, the same should be reported appropriately. This was about the major accounting policy. And finally, you'll have to conclude your VAT audit with the help of evaluation of internal control. So the auditor should evaluate the internal control prevalent in the entity with respect to any of the sales, purchases, production, be it accounting, anything like that. He or she must examine the adequacy and effectiveness of the controls in order to plan the nature and timing of his audit procedures. So that's how this particular VAT audit is going to happen. So you need to have the knowledge of business first of all. You need to be aware of VAT laws and allied laws. You need to be aware of the accounting records and the kind of major accounting policy that company is having in its place. And finally, concluding with the evaluation of internal control. Now let's move to our next topic, and that will be approach to audit under value added tax. So guys, in any kind of audit you do in your life, be it value added tax audit, be it excise audit, be it financial audit, any audit, you need to first of all have your audit program in place. The audit program for each and every kind of audit is extremely important, be it with any kind of audit. So VAT audit is just no exception for it. So it has to be done in this particular case as well. So audit program for VAT audit should be designed on the basis of some specific compliance and reporting requirements under VAT. A few special aspects need to be covered for that. Number one, analysis of turnover. So guys, like revenue, that is sales and purchase of any of the goods should be determined as per the generally accepted accounting policies and the definition of turnover in the relevant VAT law. And since if there are some of the differences between general accounting policy and VAT definition, that should be reconciled. So the prices of the goods returned is deducted from the turnover and sales if the sales are from the sales effected in the previous year. So All these things need to be taken care of in that case. And the auditor should be able to get the exact quantum of the sales underreported or overreported duly classified for different tax rates and its impact on its overall taxability. That is again a thing which needs to be considered in analysis of turnover. Then sale as per the financial statements may include sale by all the branches. But for VAT purposes, the sales are only for those branches which are included in one registration certificate, and the same will be considered. Then, while concluding the analysis of turnover part, you will have to check out rate-wise as well as commodity-wise the reconciliation statement of sale that should be examined by the auditor itself and traced into the total sales as reported in the VAT return. So that should be your first thing in any of the VAT audit. The audit program will start and mark the beginning with the analysis of turnover. Next approach that needs to be followed under VAT audit will be the purchase and input rate. The amount of purchases should be tested by applying the audit checks that enable the auditor to get the purchases eligible for grant of input tax credit segregated from all the other purchases. This has to be taken care of. Purchases on which the input tax credit is available in full and the purchases on which it is available partially should be ascertained correctly. The auditor should get the exact amount of input tax credit available, compare the same with the credit claimed in the returns, and report on the excess and short claim of the credit in returns file. So that's how it's going to be done. Moving on to the third thing, that is the filing of returns. So the auditor may also be required to comment on the timely filing of the returns under VAT law. So the auditor should list out all the due dates of filing of the returns and find out the reasons for the delay in filing those returns. So that will be covered in the third. Next will be the composition. So the auditor may also be required to give his report on the composition scheme. So he should apply the suitable kind of compliance tests in order to assemble him in a certain manner wherein whether the auditee is basically eligible for composition or not, and whether it has paid the requisite composition fee and complied with all the kind of procedural formalities in relation thereto or not. So composition is the fourth step which is going to be done in your audit program. Finally, concluding towards the consolidation of returns. So the auditor should check the consolidation of returns filed for all the periods covered in the year of audit, both under state level VAT law and CST. These returns are likely to be compared with the books of accounts and the documentary evidences available. In case of any of the inconsistency, a proper reconciliation of book figures and the return figures should be made, and also the correct quantification of tax liability is to be done. So that's about your audit program for VAT audit. Analysis of turnover, purchases and input rate, filing of returns, composition, and finally concluding with consolidation of returns. Now, the last topic of this presentation, and that will be how to go about taking care of audit report under the VAT law. How will you be able to draft an audit report under the VAT law? This question was asked in CA final examination for May 2010. The first point would be conclusion to the matters to be reported. The auditor should arrive at his conclusions on the matters which are likely to be reported in the audit report in the form which is prescribed under the relevant VAT law. Next will be the providing for an opinion. That should be your audit report. Okay, you need to include all these points in your audit report. So the auditor should have to give his opinion on the adequacy of accounting records, correctness and completeness, and arithmetical consistency of returns filed. Further, he has to state the basis of his opinion on the accounts, financial statements, documents verified by him in order to arrive at the above conclusion. And then there will be a summary of additional tax liability or refund. So the auditor is expected to give the summary of additional tax liability or additional refund arising on his verification of the time of returns, that is together with the books of accounts. And finally, the auditor may issue a qualified, unqualified, disclaimer or adverse opinion as the case may be. That was all about audit report under VAT law. I hope you guys got the complete clarity as to what audit program under what VAT law is and how to go about and make the audit report under VAT law. Perfect guys. With this, I'll say all you need to do is the revision from time to time in order to sail through this particular CA final level. So you need to be aware of that. You need to revise your topics time and again. So I'll be concluding my video with a dose of motivation. That is, yes, risk taking is inherently failure prone. Otherwise, it would have been called sure thing take. This quote was being mentioned by Tim McMahon. That's it, guys. That's it for the day. Thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting via questions, queries in YouTube comment boxes. We love to answer each of your queries and grievances. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better. See you in the next presentation with some lovely videos and some new exciting topics. Till then, take care. All the best. Good luck.